Yo, it's good. It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Today we have to revisit a topic that I've thought about over and over again, probably for the last couple of months. I think I did a video on it last season, but it's just about time to trade OG Anunoby. I want to dive into that in this video. If you enjoy it, smash that like button for me and subscribe and the bell for notifications. Let me just start off by saying, for those of you who are looking at the title, hearing the intro, and you're like, yo, how's he going to trade OG Anunoby? This dude must hate OG Anunoby. The answer to that is no, not at all, not even a little bit. But situation does matter. And the situation that OG Anunoby is in and the Toronto Raptors are in, it is clear that he is the odd man out. Let me just start off with a quick synopsis of the salary situation. The Toronto Raptors are looking at almost a wholesale reboot of this team going into next season. OG Anunoby has a player option that he's sure to exercise, becoming an unrestricted free agent. Gary Trent Jr. is going to be an unrestricted free agent. Thaddeus Young, Otto Porter Jr., Precious Achiuwa, Malachi Flynn, Garrett Temple, the only ones under contract. Oh, and not to forget Pascal Siakam. The only ones under contract are Otto, Dennis Schroeder, Chris Boucher, Scottie Barnes, Grady Dick, Jalen McDaniels, Christian Koloko. Can you tell me something about the positions that you saw are under contract? You have forwards and a center. You don't have guards. Outside of Dennis Schroeder, you don't have guards. And so OG Anunoby becomes, once again, a duplicate of what this team already has in spades. And when I say in spades, it's a reference to the game of spades, where it's the high card, it's the high suit that beats all the others. Look into the game, it's a lot of fun. But it's to say that when you have a lot of something, right, a lot of something of value, it almost diminishes its value on your team and pertaining to the game of basketball. When you have a bunch of lengthy, strong, physical, wing forward defenders who can play either forward position, and you have 3, 4, 5 of them, it then diminishes the value of the ones that you have because you have other guys who can do the same exact thing. But you only have a limited amount of minutes. And this is where OG Anunoby falls into the discussion. OG Anunoby is a fantastic player, and his value around the league couldn't be any higher. It's been extremely high for the past few seasons. And despite his injury inconsistencies, he remains a high-value commodity. But for this team, the Toronto Raptors, to take its next steps in moving forward into the future, it has to begin to find some balance. And that is something that has to be addressed. Look, I know we all say, in Messiah we trust, but there's also a phrase that we have in the game of spades called study long, study wrong. And sometimes you can hang on and look at something for too long and not make the obvious move. In this case, for the Toronto Raptors, the obvious move has been to move OG Anunoby. Is he better than Scottie Barnes? No. Is he better than Pascal Siakam? No. In fact, Pascal Siakam has been the greatest Toronto Raptor in its history. The most longevity. He was drafted. He was developed. He became an All-NBA, multiple-time All-NBA player, multiple-time All-Star, and NBA champion with this franchise. He will have his jersey retired and in the rafters. So if you want to hang on to him over OG Anunoby, I'm not mad at you. Now, if Pascal Siakam says he wants to go or is open to going, and you can move him in that contract in a contract year, where another team will have to look at picking up that sizable contract because you know he's going to want to get re-signed for that amount and won't want to lose him for nothing, well then sure, go ahead and do that. But more than likely what I see is Masai Ujiri hanging on to the guy that he's developed to reach the highest heights that has been a hallmark of his career as a front office manager. And OG Anunoby, once again, is the odd man out. But here's the thing. It doesn't have to be a negative thing because OG Anunoby has long reminded me of a similar player, Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant has always bet on himself, has always had more belief in him than anybody else has really had around the league. And he's consistently proven himself right. He's put in the work, and he's developed his talent and his skills year after year after year. And the team that I actually want him to go to is the same exact team, him being OG Anunoby. I would love for Masai Ujiri to try to figure out a way to go get Anthony Simons from the Portland Trailblazers for OG Anunoby. Look, Anthony Simons is not a known defender, but you know what he is? He is probably one of the top 3 volume three-point shooters in terms of accuracy and quantity. I believe he gets up somewhere around 7 to 8 threes a game on almost over 40% three-point shooting. Tell me that he does not answer the need in Toronto for volume three-point shooting. He can come in right now as a young, athletic guard who can help take on some of the ball handling responsibilities, but also add the scoring pop that this team has sorely lacked ever since Fred VanVleet left. Now, look, it doesn't sound like Toronto was ready to invest wholeheartedly into Gary Trent Jr., and I'm not mad at that. Your boy has not been that consistent. He has not been anything that says and demands he needs to get that starting position and playing time. So why not go out and get Anthony Simons? Why not go out and get somebody who is under contract for the next 3 years on a team-friendly deal, where he can get an opportunity that is surely likely going to be taken away from him when he comes back to Portland. When he gets done with his injury, he's going to have to compete with not just Scoot Henderson, but Shaden Sharpe, last year's lottery draft pick, who costs about $18 million less and is having a fantastic sophomore season in that starting lineup. If they can go ahead and pull off that type of a deal, it can help out both rosters. Now, the beautiful thing about it is trading your man to the opposite conference almost ensures that you don't have to see this guy 4 or 5 times a year, right? You're not going to have to play against him and have those revenge games and have to remember why you should have hung on to him in the first place. Now, the beautiful thing for the Toronto Raptors is, as I read off before, they have a grip of forwards already who can also replace his production. Can they do it as well at the same level? No. But Jalen McDaniels is still a 6'10" forward wing who can guard multiple positions. Grady Dick is still a 6'8" forward who's a lights-out shooter, right? Both of these guys need playing time. And Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam will do far better not having to compete or play out of position just to try to squeeze OG Anunoby in there. Now, the last team that I have for the Toronto Raptors to try to look at getting a high-level guard is the New York Knicks. This is going to be a little bit tougher because they are in the same conference, right? They are going to have to see OG Anunoby 4 or 5 times a year. But what they can do is they can get equal value back. And I'm looking at Emanuel Quickley. He's a young guard from Kentucky, and if you know anything about Kentucky guards, you understand that they tend to have far more promise than they actually get an opportunity to show in college. So where they get drafted, many times they get drafted to a team that really doesn't realize how good that they're about to be. Unfortunately for Emanuel Quickley, the guard that starts ahead of him is an all-NBA level, all-star level Jalen Brunson, who is probably the highest value player on that team. He's not going to play over him. And the New York Knicks are going to be limited in terms of how much they're willing to invest in his backup. But it doesn't negate his value. Now, if the New York Knicks would be willing to part with him for somebody like OG Anunoby, this would completely find the balance that both teams are looking for. Why? Because one, the head coach for the New York Knicks are looking for a forward who can be a lockdown defender. OG Anunoby fits that mold in spades, all right? And as a result, they'd be able to plug him in and potentially move on from RJ Barrett. Look, I kind of had him initially in this trade, but if I'm the Toronto Raptors, I don't know if I want RJ Barrett either. Now, I think he could be a good complement next to Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam. I'm not knocking that. But they would need an Emanuel Quickley. They still need that guard for the future because I don't think any of us are looking at RJ Barrett today and saying he's going to become an all-star. At best, he's like Harrison Barnes, potentially a Chris Middleton level scorer or player, meaning that on his best year, he might make an all-star team in a down year within the conference. Outside of that, he's really not that level of player. Now, at the same time, neither is OG Anunoby offensively. However, his defense is still all-NBA worthy. And I don't see RJ Barrett becoming all-NBA worthy of anything in his future. So with that said, as always, I want to know what you all think. OG Anunoby is the odd man out. What do you think about that? Who do you think that he can go to? Where do you think would be a great situation for him? And what do you think the Toronto Raptors could get back in return? If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. And I'm out. Peace.